The Memphis Grizzlies just had, yet again, another great NBA draft. Although last year was a bit of a step back, before that, their previous 4 or 5 NBA drafts had just been hit after hit. Of course, getting their superstar in Morant through the draft. You got Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., all kinds of guys. Speaking of Ja, he's going to be needing his free agent extension this summer. And we're also going to look at all 4 guys they picked up in the draft, starting with Jake LaRavia at number 19, David Roddy at number 23. I believe it was 19. And then David Roddy, Kennedy Chandler, and Vince Williams Jr., a couple of late second-round steals. So we're going to talk about all those guys in depth today and much, much more. So make sure you stick around for the full video. With that being said, before we get started, make sure to the like button, make sure to the subscribe button, as it'll really help us out in the YouTube algorithm. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started looking at Jake LaRavia and my scouting report for him. Last year at Wake Forest, 14.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists a night, as well as almost 2 steals a game, 1 block, and just south of 3 turnovers a night. 56% from the field and 38% from 3. Really nice numbers there from LaRavia. At 6'9", 228, he's a big guard. Got great size. He's even got a nice little hook shot when he gets down on the block. Mismatch nightmare because he can post up the smaller guards and go to that hook shot. Or he can take you outside because he's a good three-point shooter as well, almost 40% from 3. Also a very good rebounder for a guard. But he is reckless at times, and he's not the best finisher. His speed could use some work as well. But I like his fit here on a Memphis team where he can contribute to winning from day one. Now, David Roddy, I didn't get around to doing a scouting report on him. I was not expecting him to be a first-round pick whatsoever. But if there was a team that was going to take David Roddy, a team like the Grizzlies, that would make sense. As he can fit in right away. Maybe not play right away, but, his three-point shooting, even though he's extremely undersized, his three-point shooting should help him out a lot from day one in the NBA. Then we got Kennedy Chandler, the 6-foot guard out of Tennessee. Can't believe... I can believe he fell to the second round, but great job by the Grizzlies swooping in, picking him up, 14 points a game, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2.2 steals last year at Tennessee, 2.5 turnovers is not great, but 46% from the field, 38% from 3. Very crafty guard who excels at finishing, can knock down the 3 ball, he's got a really good handle, and he's active defensively. However, turnovers are a bit of a weakness. His size, of course, only 6 foot, 172, and his mid-range is virtually non-existent. But I think, if Tyus Jones does decide to walk, that's some nice insurance there, especially with trading away DeAnthony Melton. The final guy here we've got to talk about, Vince Williams Jr. Man, what a steal. I believe pick 47. This is a guy that I have as my 18th best prospect. Maybe I'm just tripping, but holy cow, what a steal. He's a huge guard, great defender. Good. He can catch and shoot the 3. He can go coast to coast. Gets downhill in a hurry, and he's real tough to stop when he gets going downhill. He's even a smart cutter, can play through contact, very strong, and he even works out of the pick and roll. There's really not a weakness to his offensive side of things. Other than his off dribble 3, handle can be a little sus at times, and he gets out of control, jumps to pass a little too often. But other than that, a very polished player, 6'6", 210. I really like me some Vince Williams Jr. I think he's going to be a stud from day one for this Grizzlies squad. They also shipped away DeAnthony Melton, as I talked about, bringing in Danny Green. I think that Danny Green pickup makes a lot of sense for them because obviously going forward, you've got that young core. You're going to try to bring in as many shooters as possible to surround Ja, to surround Jaren Jackson Jr. and your other guys down low. So I think that's a nice pickup. Can play a little bit of defense as well, even though he is getting older. Now, the Ja extension. That's going to be talked about a lot. Ja became a superstar this year. He took his team to the number 2 overall seed in the West, and unfortunately ran into that Warriors team. He didn't get to play that much, but, this is one of the more exciting young teams in the NBA, have some of the most potential in the league, and we're talking about Ja Morant here. Everybody sees him now as, top 5, maybe top 3 point guard in today's game. Super athletic, average, like 27 a game last year, even in MVP conversations at times. So you're going to have to pay up. He's going to need his super max, his rookie super max. They're going to have to give it to him. It's kind of a no-brainer at this point. But yeah, they're going to have to fork over some money to Ja Morant, which leaves them in a bit of a pickle. Even though they have about $40 million in free agency, Tyus Jones and Kyle Anderson, both free agents. At this point, this is where I'm standing if I'm the Grizzlies. I'm letting Slomo walk, and, you got Zaire Williams. You got other young rookies. that can play in those minutes. I'm bringing back Tyus Jones, probably the best backup point guard in the NBA. His assist-to-turnover ratio is out of this world. You look at their record without Ja, a huge part of that, probably the biggest part of that, was Tyus Jones. So you got to bring him back this offseason. I'm not sure what the money would look like, but I know there's a lot of other teams that would cough up a lot of money for Tyus to be their starter, much less their backup point guard. So if the Grizzlies want him to come back, they're going to have to pay up for him. But like I said, they have about $40 million in cap space. That is before the Ja extension, but maybe you go ahead and re-sign Tyus, and then you give Ja his money. Of course, like I said, Slow-Mo probably on the way out, as he did have a bit of a down year this year. Now, is it time to move on from these two guys? Steven Adams on a huge contract, owed about $17 to $18 million next year, going into the last year of his deal, I believe, and then Dillon Brooks, another guy going into the last year of his deal. The Grizzlies do have a history of trading guys heading into their last year of their deal. You look at Jonas Valanciunas. That was kind of a head-scratcher at the time. They didn't want to pay up, I guess. New Orleans extended him, and they made the trade for him. So Dillon Brooks could be on the way out. I highly doubt that, though. I think the Grizzlies are pretty high on Brooks. They need to keep that core intact. Steven Adams, if they can find a suitable center replacement, wouldn't be surprised if he does get moved on from. But I think Dillon Brooks is staying put for the time being. Adams could be traded, though, to free up some more money for a Ja extension or bringing back Tyus Jones. Now let's take a look at a potential starting lineup for this Grizzlies squad next year. Of course, you're basically running it back. You got Ja, your two guard is Dillon Brooks, three-man Desmond Bane. Those are kind of interchangeable. Hopefully Dillon Brooks can stay healthy this year. Again, this is if they don't trade Dillon Brooks, because there is a history of them trading guys going into a contract year. Desmond Bane probably should have been the most improved player last year. He's coming back off of that season. I believe Ja won it and gave the trophy to him. Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 4, one of the best defensive power forwards in the league. And then Steven Adams, the big Kiwi, holding down the paint. And that is, again, if Brooks and Adams don't get traded, which highly doubt Brooks gets traded. Maybe Adams, not sure. Now, the backup guards. This is a deep guard room. You got Tyus Jones, if you do bring him back, which you obviously should. Danny Green, those are probably going to be the two backup guys. And then you got all these young guys. Zaire Williams, he's a guy going into year 2 that is looking to get some more minutes. Vince Williams Jr., Kennedy Chandler, Jake LaRavia, all rookies, all super high upside that you could definitely justify giving some minutes. So it's going to be interesting who gets those backup guard minutes, who goes to the G League. Now, the backup bigs, you have Xavier Tillman, Brandon Clark, and David Roddy. So if I had to guess, my second unit if I'm the Grizzlies, and this is if I don't bring back Kyle Anderson, it's going to be Tyus Jones, Danny Green, Zaire Williams, Brandon Clark, and Xavier Tillman. That's probably what it's looking like for me right now. Of course, I'm not Taylor Jenkins. I'm not the coach, but if I was, that's what it would be looking like. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like button and the subscribe button if you did enjoy at any point. Also, make sure to leave me a comment down below what you think about the Memphis Grizzlies offseason so far. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video.